So I was gonna do a full repair of a Specialized battery today, but when we checked the BMS it was not working. So I'm gonna try and do a full repair of this battery, which I think is very common, at least in Europe. And I want to know what this battery is called in your company. This version, the case is manufactured by Renshan, or if it's Shanshan, I can't remember. But this is the most common one. It has existed since 2008 in this version. And as you can see on the Panasonic cells, these are the 2009 or 2008 version. Most likely 2009. This is a really good battery. I like to keep the original BMS. It has its faults, but usually it lasts for many years. And then you can also connect the on-off switch, which is lit up with a red LED. So let's start with how I do. There are a lot of other versions of this from like 2014 and on that are usually crap. You know, Ansman in Germany has a version of this battery. And but if you see this original label and there are no additional stickers, then you most likely have the original Portapower version, which is the one that manufactured the good version of this. I usually like to keep some of the tape. And also these ones, so the cells don't jump around. These are very hard to remove, but these ones are usually easier. There are some versions of this battery, but this is the older one. In newer ones, they have polyfuses on the ESTs. I usually cut them off because it's so unnecessary. And here, and here, they have soldering tabs right next to each other. So you have to be careful not to short circuit the cells over there. You can see how close they are here. And I like to hold on to the heat shrink tubing and just pull it off with this dull plier. And there. So, and do not forget about the temp sensor. You do not want to damage it. Sometimes there's a lot of silicone, so just cut around it. Sometimes it's open up, the plastic breaks, and that's not really good. There's another one over here, low temperature. Very careful. And they have really strange colors on the EST. They don't have on positive or negative, and they start with the gray one on B1. But also there are different lengths, so you really seldom mix it up. Come on. This is an extra big one. It's holding two cell groups together. I will desolder them in the right order. Here you have extra solder. I will do the black one first, so it's out of the way. So, and I like to cut off this and remove the EST. Yes, the positive is going through the cells. I don't like that. I will have it go over the cells later on. And the negative ones goes under, so that's what we have to worry about. Can also desolder this one. And there's one more to desolder. And we cut off the blocks. Here comes one of the tricky parts. These have a pin like here in the middle, so you won't be able to pull it through unless you open it up a little bit first. Then you can pull them through. Next one. You open it up on this part. Now the last part. Here we have the negative terminal. So now we removed all the cells from the battery case. We will disassemble them, and I will do that at high speed. So I actually have staff that takes apart cells anymore, but since we're doing this on video, I will show you how I do it. I got some criticism that I'm killing cells, but I really don't. I'm just very, very fast, and I don't care that it looks perfect, just that it's good enough for testing. You want to save all of these and do not bend them too hard, or you will have to make new ones, and they are harder to make than to make new friends, so don't damage them. So on the top part, I just go crazy. On the bottom part, since this is Panasonic cells, you should be careful because it's very thin and it will easily break. So I grab it like this, grab it by the pussy, and then I twist it. Yeah, pussy is the technical term for the nickel strip that goes between cells. That's probably where Donald Trump got it. And these one are a little tricky because there are plastic going over here. Here there is a little bit extra space, but these ones you have to bend up with something. And just slide it like that. So, and that's good enough for us to be able to remove the casing. And I usually cut on the top part to remove anything that's sticking up. And here I have this technique that I grab it by the pussy and twist it. Grab it by the pussy and twist it. And now there's a little bit nickel strip left, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't really matter to me. Removing these will in many cases damage the bottom. As you can see, the bottom is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it, except there's a little nickel. And if you want to solder on this, you can try and solder on what's left, and that will be a lot better than soldering on the core, because then you only need to have to heat up those two. So we sell this on auction for almost nothing, and people bid on them like crazy. And we don't know how they plan to use it. Some solder, some spot weld, and I grind it against something metal, most likely stainless steel, and that makes it all the rough edges disappear. So you can grind it against your finger and there is no chance it will damage you. And at the top, and it will be very smooth and easy to spot weld. And now maybe you can do a better result, but I can do this extremely quick with no cells being damaged. So that's why I do it. I do not damage the cells. I have actually found a method that is very, very fast and precise, where I damage almost no cells. When it comes to these Panasonic cells, sometimes like 1 in 100 I damage, but most of them are like perfect. When it comes to these bigger blobs, I usually hold them like this, and I will try and tear off as much nickel as can from the positive ones. It might not be optimal, but usually it's a little faster. And I did not damage the tops at all, they are still unbent. These ones are in the way, difficult to remove. You can use hot air. Just remove as much of them as possible, and it will be easier to build a new pack. Sorry for that. Didn't see you there. Let's just get rid of the nickel on the positive side very fast. Here you can see they're actually using different color plastics, and this is the not the dump kind, but usually they have one pin over here and a hole here, so you do not have to find the right one and match them. And also sometimes these pins are a little bigger on one side and the hole is a little bigger on one side, so they do not fit, but this will work fine even though they are different color. Well, the Gooper was pretty cranky, it needed a charge and it got very hot, so I had to turn off on the end. But I did all the 40 cells and no one was damaged. You do not have to report me to the battery police. Now we're missing one. So I have all the ones with positive pins, and we are using new GA, but they have some they have had nickel on them before, but they have never been charged. And as you there are a few battery makers in Europe that build a lot of battery packs, but then they realize demand for that specific product is not that good, and then they remove the cells again, and then we get them a little cheaper, but they are new, they have never been charged except for in the original factory. They are overstock. Similar with like laptop batteries for older models, as for many people get new cells that have a little nickel on them. So I'm gonna add this one over here. So, and these are in the wrong orientation. Twist them around. And I also like to tape them together because they are a little flexible at the moment. Because these cell holders are not really meant for a little bit larger modern cells. It's not optimal, but it will make it a lot easier to spot weld, and we will you can remove the tape once you're done. Now they're very tight together and it's a lot easier to do good spot welds. So, and you can do this one as well, so it doesn't feel left out. There is not really that much need for it, but like, why not? And we have the negative down here, the positive down here, because positive is going to be here and negative over here. Now I'm going to go cut some nickel, and I have a nickel cutting machine for this. I know exactly what to cut. So let's go. So of course you can cut by hand if you're some kind of Neanderthal or monkey. But if not, then you go to a trusty nickel cutting machine. And I have this really nice nickel cutting machines. And this is Portapower. I will use 7mm nickel, 20 pieces, that is 68, and 26 pieces, that is 26. Yeah, and take some of the stragglers. Oops. So now we're gonna prep the battery for spot welding. You can have 8mm wide, but then they are a little bit too tight, I think. 7mm wide is perfect for this. And since I taped them together, they won't pull apart. I'll have really good connections. So I'm gonna spot weld and be right back. So now it's time for parallel connectors, parallel connections. And you must add parallel connections, otherwise you have basically two different battery packs and you will only add the GST to one of them. So you will, if you have two battery packs like this with no serial connector between the two, then you will have two battery packs and you will need two BMSs. So it's very important to also connect them like this. And you don't need two connections, you just need one, but I have one extra for redundancy. So if one of these came loose, we will still have one really good connection between the groups. And it's important to have 26mm so it can fit perfectly in here. And 68 is a little short. You can have 70 if you like, but 26 is perfect for the length. So I also added soldering tabs. I have a lot of them by the machine. My little brother worked here during the summer and he cut 8,000 of these. So we have that. And I just add them on one side, then I flip them over and they will go perfectly up here in the middle. I also like to flatten them a little and you will have a perfect result. Because factories like this usually have pre-cut nickel that fits perfectly in here and also have a tab. We don't have access to that. You usually do that when you manufacture 10,000 batteries or more. And we have not even made 1,000 of these battery repairs of this kind yet. I don't know, maybe 500 or so. So I'm getting kind of bored of these batteries. But I can do them very fast and very precise. Let's go to the next side. The positive on the other battery was up, but I like to have it on the side. Now it's important not to put the nickel in the wrong space or we'll have a nickel fire. So you can be pretty sure that you need nickel between these two groups because they're not connected yet. So that's an easy reminder. And when it comes to this battery pack, the wire is below. So we usually do the same. Now we're gonna have it on top. On this side, we're gonna have it on the side. The battery will look more symmetrical and it will work perfectly. And you can still have the wire there if you extend it a little bit. So on the last row of nickel, what's up?
Överraskning.
So now I'm done. I also made the soldering tabs. I made on the positive and negative terminals, even though there isn't these T's for those. But if the BMS fails, then I have made those already, and it just takes a few seconds extra. Push them down. Now you should have saved all these ones. We don't need as many. But we do want one here. And no, stop with the end. I'm gonna cut off a part over here. And you can use some kind of Kapton tape to hold them in place, because the adhesive is not that good anymore. But here's the positive terminal. I want quick access to that one. Here is the one that is gonna be, yeah, like that. But I need to cut off this piece because we're gonna bend them quite much. Just a little bit extra. We don't really need one here, but if you drop a wire in there or something, or some other crap, we have an extra one, so. Did I do it right now? Yes. No, I don't need to cut that one. Let's lay it out. And here you should use the one with tape on, because you're gonna have... No, I don't have any opposite terminals on this one. Because you don't need to cut it. This one can be like anywhere. And the reason you maybe do not want to have double of these is because it's very hard to fit it in this case. And This one's gonna keep going here, but I want this one on the top side. I usually have it down here, but I'm gonna mix it up. Now we're gonna fold it over. This one should be flat. Perfect. And this one should have the bumps in between, and you're gonna push them in because there's gonna be a screw hole over here. Now you can lift it up and place it where it belongs. Like that. It's very tight when you have all the isolating plates and that. And they have to be all the way down, the plates as well, or you can't close the case. That one is not all the way down. Now it is. So that's actually pretty perfect. And now you can remove some of the tape on the top. It's just in the way now. Now the battery is perfectly fitted. So now we're gonna start with the GST. And remove all of those. And put on some hot glue. Fuck. And let's solder. I don't have the soldering tabs at the exact same place because I like to have it on the negative terminals. And just having a small fan close is really good. That blows almost all the smoke away. Start with the gray one. Lilac. And then they jumped a space over here. It's really strange. And they have a blue one. Green here in the middle. Just yellow. Orange. Red, if you don't see what I'm doing. Gray, no, brown. And black. And see, here we have a negative one. I think it will not reach. Have to extend it. Yeah, it's usually better to do it in the bottom. I don't know why I did this. I never done this before. Having the negative on top, and we have extra space over here. So here is where we want it. We can start with the red. It was really unnecessary to do that with the black wire. It's perfectly fitted down under. It's a little bit hard to place and sometimes it slides to the side, and then you won't be able to close the battery and you can't really see from the outside that you've done something wrong. Want them equal length. A nice little permanent joint. You can remove some of the excess wire and solder on the sides. Isolate. Ja.
Den här kunden,
Ja.
han var en liten surmupp som du la tillbaka batteriet på för att han inte vill betala. Och så kom han tillbaka till butiken, men jag glömde säga det. Och så sa jag att du kan få en 5% i novemberrabatt.
Mm.
Och så förklarade jag vad jag egentligen får för priset, vad jag egentligen han betalar för.
Ja.
Då gick han med på det.
Okej. Okay.
Men jag glömde meddela dig om det, så jag kan ställa...
Okay. Var den inte i inhyllan eller?
Den har varit i inhyllan och så har vi lagt tillbaka den till uthyllan.
Okay. Så
har kunden kommit in.
Ja.
Och så har han beställt 14 ampere-timmar, vilket jag har skrivit i mejlet.
Ja, men jag tror jag såg det.
Så jag lägger den i hyllan där borta.
Ja.
Bra.
So now we can turn off the soldering iron. And now we're gonna check. And I can't use my quick checker. We know that the other ones are 3.4 or there will be from a parallel universe, so we don't need to check them. Now we're gonna connect this one. If you've done something wrong, the BMS will get very hot. And you can feel over here on the MOSFETs, no, not the MOSFETs, the resistors. If you have double the voltage or too high voltage, they will go crazy. And now you can see that one is lit up. And gonna check here, indicator, now. There, it wanna have a charge. But no, it's the most important test when you have built the battery that it will accept a charge. That's a good sign that you did everything right. So, usually I wait until the battery is fully charged and I know that it's perfect. But I'm gonna show you how to make this mess a little messy. I really like using black glue sticks. They look so much better than white, which are not white, they're transparent. Really ugly looking. And yes, you can add heat shrink tubing to all of these, but there is nothing conductive on the top, and with a little glue they will stay in place, which they will not do with just heat shrink tubing. Gonna make a nice slide over here. Connect this one. And also glue these larger soldering tabs. If they are not connected to anything, they can shake and loose and the nickel can be destroyed if you bend aluminium. A lot of times it will eventually break. And where was that terminal? Here, out positive. And we want glue. And there's screw holes coming here. I like to cut off this screw hole and just use the ones on the side. These ones are unnecessary. But you can also pull them to the side. Because there are nothing sharp over here that can damage the wires. and you will have a little slack. It gets a little messy with all the glue. Don't worry. The doctor told you to do it this way. Don't put hot glue on the tip of the temp sensors. You might damage them. Put it a bit down the wires. So now we're gonna close it up before we charge it. And you can reuse this tape. It's still very good. And you have exact length and number of pieces to just have an extra layer over the tape. We are actually gonna... No. It will be perfect. There was some extra space over here. And this one, if you still have them, on the positive is the most important one. That's the one that can shake and loose. And one in the center block, can have it there. Yeah, like new. And check that nothing is sticking out. Here we had a little too much glue. Yeah, that's gonna be perfect. And there are 2 pins over here, because they don't have screw holes in this old version. And both of these snaps are broken off. It's really nothing you can do. But you can add some extra tape on the outside. There's a later version where they actually have a screw hole over here. This is probably the most difficult part, putting this one back together without damaging any of the wires. But I think I did a pretty good job. So, and if you don't have that already, you need a triangle bit. I did not show you when I opened this. It's very hard to find. I could find it in Sweden, but you probably want to buy them from China. This is 1.8 millimeters, but you can use 1.8 till about 2.1 millimeter. They're a little bit flexible. If you haven't had enough already, I will show you when I screw it together. So now it's time to inspect that it looks okay, that there are no wires sticking out. And here is the weak part, where you can bend it up a little because there are no screws. It's still pretty tight, but I like to add a sticker, or you can just add some tape. But now it's working. Refurbished, repaired, 14 amp hours, and it will last a really long time. This one is already 11 years old, but I think it will last to 2030. Unless Donald Trump has something to say about it. Then we're all fucking doomed.